Hey everyone, and welcome to Inessence Movement. I'm your host, Paresh Nama. I started the show so I can bring to you the people that motivate, inspire me, because I know success leaves clues. And with those clues, we can ask ourselves better questions and reflect so we can find out who we are in essence. Today on the show, we have someone who's helping boys become mentally strong and emotionally secure men. He's on a mission, and now he's training others to do the same to increase the impact. I met this man many years ago, and he had the same drive then. He is the living embodiment of doing what you love and loving what you do. He has a heart of gold, he is kind, he has an extremely high EQ, and he has a smile that will melt your heart. He is David Verdugo. David, how are you?
I'm good. Oh, you make me blush with that intro.
Thank you for joining me.
It's a privilege. Thank you for having me.
No worries. How's the weather over there in Melbourne?
It's actually very cold, but a very beautiful sunny day here,
Nice.
which is nice. It's been raining a while here, so it's a nice break.
Excellent.
Probably not as cold as New Zealand though.
It's actually not too bad. The mornings definitely getting cold. So
yeah, getting bitey.
Sorry.
Getting bitey in the cold.
Yeah. I guess the best place to start with you was tell us about Man Cave, what it is that Man Cave is about, and then about your role in Man Cave.
Yeah. So the Man Cave is a preventative mental health sort of organization that teaches boys emotional intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
When it was started, we realized that a whole bunch of systems and organizations were there to help boys in the treatment of things, call it domestic violence, poor mental health issues, suicide, depression, things like that. But there was very little stuff on the preventative end of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so we kind of do a whole bunch of workshops with boys, teaching them how to actually, some life skills on how to actually manage being a human, being a man in this world. Because it's, even more so now, it's a very confusing time to be growing up. There's so many conflicting informations about what it means to be a man that boys kind of growing up, they see all these different information and they just don't know what they want to be. And so it puts them into this shell, and they bottle up all of their thoughts, their emotions, their ideas, their interests. They bottle it up, and unfortunately, that sometimes leads to some really tragic situations.
Yeah.
And so we kind of go in to schools mainly and just show boys some really practical skills that can help them just be better, not just men but humans.
Yeah, I mentioned in the intro that you're helping to train other people, so obviously part of your role is facilitating those workshops. Talk to us about how you're I believe increasing your impact by having more people out there.
Yeah, so part of my role is to facilitate some of the workshops, but what I'm kind of realizing is that for us to have the most amount of impact, we need to be working with the communities that hold boys. Mm-hmm. And so now I'm spending my time training more facilitators so we can get a higher outreach, but also working with parents, teachers, other members of the community, teaching them how to best support boys in this journey. Yeah. It's there's this quote, an African proverb or something. It's it takes a village to raise a man, mm-hmm. And it's we adopt that because it's not just one person that helps raise a man. We need to be working with every single person that has touch points with boys to really support, boys in their transition into adulthood. Yeah. I do a lot of workshops with adults as well, just giving them some practical tools and mm-hmm. skills and things like that. Yeah.
To work with their boys or just for themselves?
So it's a bit of a mixture. The people that come to our workshops, a lot of them are teachers who work directly with boys. Yep. Some of them are counselors, sporting coaches, Some of them are just like grandparents that just want to be able to support, their grandchildren in better ways.
Mm.
So it's a really beautiful mix of, diverse people that kind of come to these workshops. We had one just the other day, and it was, probably like 60-70% teachers, and then the rest a mix of everything else,
Yeah.
which is awesome that people are actually wanting to do this.
Yeah, I was going to say that's it's incredible that teachers are taking time out of their day to, I mean, they've spent their whole lives in schools essentially, um, teaching, but for them to be able to carry on their learning is really, really, truly a beautiful thing. And like you said, if grandparents are turning up, then that's really cool. It just goes to show that there's not much out there. There's not a lot of information. Like you said, if there is information, you'd always find a conflicting piece of information right beside it. So
Yeah.
I commend you on the work that you guys are doing, and thank you for that. It's really cool.
Yeah.
And because we know what the stats are like, right? It's scary there in Australia, but also here in New Zealand as well. It's really, really scary. I was going through your website last night, and there's some of the stats that you've got on there, and the way that you're increasing confidence, increasing the ability of these kids to be able to speak about their emotions. It was truly inspiring. So I just want
Mm.
to say that you're doing amazing work.
Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate it. And it's something that we feel really passionate about,
Yeah.
really called to, because boys need it,
Mm,
The world needs it, actually, because the impact of not having this it impacts everyone,
yeah.
you know, families, partners, kids, the next generation.
Hmm.
It impacts everyone. So, I feel very, very called to this work.
Yeah. Talk to me about passion. You mentioned passion there. You feel real passionate about it. Where does that passion come from? Is it something you had to cultivate over time, or is it just that inspiring of a message? Um, where
Mm.
did it come from?
Uh, it's for me, it's always been there, this passion to do work with young people,
Hmm.
but it's taken me a long time to kind of really hone in on the specific area that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And it's taken me a long time to really shed the superficial layers of my thinking of what I thought I wanted to do, to really, really get down to this. Many of my life experiences have kind of just allowed me to take a next step in finding the next piece of my passion that's more embodied in my spirit. Um, it's been hard sometimes, just like making a decision of what my brain thinks I need or want, with what my soul and my spirit actually needs and wants.
Mm,
And that distinguishing where it's coming from sometimes is tough for me,
yeah.
because the thoughts sometimes are really loud.
Yeah.
But I just had some amazing people around me in my community that have always kind of encouraged me to follow my heart, um, which is, kind of led me to where I am now.
Nice. Well, you're very lucky in that sense. I think
Yeah.
anyone that's got a community around them that's encouraging them is very, very lucky.
Mm. Yeah, I'm
Um,
very grateful.
you've spoken to quite a number of boys now. You've probably heard it all. Um, where did you learn these ideas, techniques, tools, um, and did you have to struggle with it yourself? And how did you learn to overcome those?
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a journey. Like, so I grew up in an area, here in Melbourne, that is kind of like just normal, I guess, in a way. But a lot of the community here, uh, just bottles everything up. It's kind of a very superficial, uh, community, in a sense that when people will say, "Hey, how you going?" It's like, "Yep, good, thanks, that's it," and then they move on. And I always found that there was more to me in my thinking, than that. And so, uh, in my journey of actually working with boys, I've actually realized that that's the norm, where boys think and feel a lot more than they actually communicate.
Yeah.
And I've had the privilege of working with over like 20,000 boys, within the man cave, and many more in some of the other work that I did,
Yeah.
doing some seminars. And yeah, it's just like experience, just meeting the boys where they're at and just kind of learning and observing. Um, there's some trends that kind of pop out in the work that I've done, and a lot of these trends apply to a lot of boys. Like certain things, like boys don't want to be told anything. Every boy has like this thinking of like, don't tell me what to do, kind of thing. And it's like when we're working with them, we're asking them, we're not telling them. Like, what do you think about this? What do you think about how you're actually feeling and acting? And that approach has been far more effective than like, do this or don't do this. Um, so yeah, there's certainly been like some things that I've just learned over the years of working with young people and boys specifically that help what I do.
Yeah. Um, um, Talk to me about vulnerability. Um, how important is it? How standoffish are people or boys when you first speak to them? And also, I just want to know from you, because you've spoken to a lot of boys, how important is it for men to be vulnerable, and why?
Yeah. Yeah, vulnerability is hugely important. It's not the be all and end all. I
Mm-hmm.
think for men, being authentic is probably the most important thing.
Yep.
But within that is also vulnerabilities. Um, yeah, like I said, there's this like culture of like superficialness where we put on a mask every day, and the mask might be of like strength, that I'm okay, a mask of I'm the funny guy, the mask of the tough guy, the sporty person. We put on these masks, and sometimes those masks get blended with actually what we think we are, and we don't know how to separate ourselves from it. In the work that we do, we speak to a lot of boys, and we try and create spaces for boys to actually speak authentically. So, as an example, we do this activity called Good Man, Real Man. And so we ask the boys, what does it mean to be a good man? And we tell it, ask them, give us all the character traits, the habits, the character traits or the attributes of a good man. And they come out with being kind, being compassionate, caring, leader, all of these different beautiful things, having integrity, things like that. And then we go, what does it mean to be a stereotypical man? And then the answers that come out of this is, be strong, be buff, be the money earner, have a big dick, have all the ladies, have all these things. And we ask the boys and we go, cool, what do you think of this? And they go, well, this one's more about being who we are. And this is what, the outside, the superficial nature of it. And we ask the boys, well, who's ever felt pressure to be anything on this stereotypical side? The whole room's generally put their hand up, because boys have always felt this pressure.
Yep.
And we ask them, well, okay, what's the reality behind that? And then there's generally one person who's like, yeah, I'm the smallest person here, but I feel pressure to be big. And I feel bad because I'm not actually big and I can't control it. And when that person shares that really authentically and shares like vulnerably, the whole room goes, whoa, I didn't know that about you. Like boys, they can be best friends with someone for multiple years, but not actually know the reality of the world that they're living in.
Very true.
And so we try and create some of these spaces where boys can actually speak authentically, because then they know that they belong. They feel connected. There's like a statistic that says that the quality of men's relationships is often quite poor, and that directly results into life satisfaction, the level of life satisfaction or happiness in life.
Yep.
And so, yeah, when boys realize that there's more to their mates and they feel connected with their mates, they actually feel happier and more able, more confident to express themselves. We hear from teachers all the time, what's the biggest challenge in dealing with boys? And it's some behavioral, but also like they don't engage. You ask them a question, they go, I don't know, or good, bad. They give you one or word answers. And so their challenge is how to actually make boys express themselves. Part of this process is like getting them to realize what's deeper. And they experience it, they know it, but they don't know how to articulate it sometimes, or they don't feel safe to do that. And so sharing our vulnerabilities or speaking authentically is so important for everyone, not just boys, but for humans. If we live in a world that's just head, not just heart, that's a challenging world. Confusing one as well, I'm sure.
Very confusing. Yeah, that's incredible. You're definitely right. There's a lot of people that, and adults as well, that just don't know how to connect their head and heart. They're either speaking from one or the other, and there's this inner civil war.
Totally.
Yeah. You talked about men having poor relationships. Other than that authentic communication, what else leads to these poor relationships?
Well, a lot of it, from what I see, is that men have just inherited this culture from the previous generations, and it's been passed on, and it obviously develops over time. But a lot of it is, as I mentioned before, just superficial. Guys can spend an entire session together talking about cars and sports, and by no means am I saying that that's wrong, because it's interesting and it's fun, but if we're only ever talking about stuff that's in our head, as we mentioned, not sharing the things that are in our heart, people go home going, yep, that was interesting, but there's no impact on me.
Yeah.
I don't feel connected. It was just an intellectual conversation. And so it impacts people. The rates here of suicide amongst men are incredibly high. And, actually, I think it was between the ages of 15 and 45, the biggest cause of male death is suicide. And it's not, just to put it into context, it's not drugs, it's not alcohol, it's not when boys get their licenses and they just start speeding down the highways. Yep. It's not any of that. It's actually ourselves. Because often we don't feel connected with the people that we're around. I've had this, I've in my life, I've had a few people who I was friends with as a young person go down that path. And from the outside looking in, I would say that was the funniest person, the happiest person, the most well-liked person. Yep. But the reality was that inside, they didn't feel that. And so they decided to leave.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's just like connecting with another human from a heart space, from the deeper level, from a deeper level, is so important for our life happiness. I'm sure everyone's probably felt a time where like you've had this like incredible conversation with someone, and the energy of that conversation is just fulfilling. Yep. It fills the cup.
Yep.
And you leave that going, yeah, I love this. I love life. Guys don't often have that. They do, of course, sometimes, but not often. And, that's something that I feel very passionate about changing, create more spaces for guys to actually speak their mind.
Yeah. Can definitely feel that passion coming off you. Like you mentioned, in my mind always goes back to Robin Williams, right? He's spent his whole life making everyone else happy, except himself. And unfortunately, the world lost an amazing soul. Really, really scary. What are some tools and techniques that we can do to help connect? Like actual techniques that we can do to build connections with people?
Yeah. One of the simplest ones is doing a check-in. And what I mean by that is like having uninterrupted time for us to share with each other how we're going. Not like how you're going, but like how are you really going?
Yep.
And so something that we encourage everyone to do is whenever you sit down with someone, start the conversation with a check-in. So I might say, David, checking in. Right now, I'm feeling really good. I went to the gym this morning. I worked out. I feel really connected to my partner because we just had some intimate moments and just shared where we're at over the last few days. Right now, I feel really passionate and inspired by having this conversation. And that's how I'm feeling right now. Paresh, how are you?
Well, yep, I'm going to check in as well. And I'm going to say that it was a bit of a crazy morning for me. My 6-year-old had his second hockey game ever, so it was a bit of a rush trying to get them up in the morning and get them ready for that. So I was a little bit flustered, but once we got there, and I was able to share with him something that I love so much as well, and see him connect with it was really heartwarming. Now they've gone out for a little bit while I do this and have this chat with you. And I know right after this, I'm going into a workout, so I'm looking forward to that. But I feel connected with you definitely right now. And actually, as you just asked that, I feel centered in myself as well. It's not about the conversation. It's about being right here in this moment. So I'm happy. This is what I love to do. And so instead of worrying about what's going on around here, you've just brought my attention back to this moment right now.
Nice.
Yeah.
This is just one way. Like we've just spent, a minute, 2 minutes sharing where we're at. How often do guys do that?
Well, I can tell you, and not a lot of people know this, but a few years ago, I went through a time where I felt very alone. I felt like I had no friends. Yeah, I've never actually talked about this on camera. I felt like I had no friends. I had no one that was checking in on me. I didn't feel like I could reach out to anyone. And it was a very scary time, a very, very dark, a very scary time.
Do you mind if I ask you a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
What was that like for you?
Someone who's always prided himself, in always being there for other people. I felt like it was a huge slap in the face when I needed people weren't there. I felt lonely, and I felt angry. And like I said, I eventually realized how scary that was, being in that space. But it was a very dark time. And there was obviously other things that led to that I was dealing with. But being in that time where I had no one to check in on me, just extremely lonely and dark.
Yeah, I feel that, man, and thanks for sharing. I appreciate your authenticity.
Yeah. I've never spoken about that on camera. You're obviously a very smart guy, and you've obviously got a very high EQ as well. How did you develop that?
I don't know, actually. I think just growing up, I was always very empathetic to people. Within my family situation, I always was looking for cues to tell me about the situation, what's the energy of it. And then in school, I always looked at it as well, but I didn't have a lot of language for it at the time, or confidence to share what I was feeling. And so over the years, I just started to observe more intentionally and connect some dots. And just like listen to what the energy of conversations. because I always feel people's energy before I actually see who they are. When people walk into a room. So I've just learned to listen to what my intuition is telling me about situations and people, and just lean into that and be curious. Yeah, it's yeah, I guess if I'm honest, it's probably came naturally as a young person. I probably was yeah, just like I said, I was very empathetic as a young person. It just took a while to develop the language for it. Yeah. Plus, I'm a nerd. I'd like to read books of just everything. So yeah.
What are you reading at the moment?
I'm reading actually 50 Cent's book, Hustle Harder. So I got into 50 Cent with he wrote a book with Daniel Goleman, I think it was. Sorry, Daniel Green, the 50th Law, and that was interesting. And so I just moved on to the next one, and he's talking about business and attacking business, but it's quite funny because he's doing it through the lens of when he was a drug dealer. And so it's kind of got this beautiful balance of, what I think is humorous and quite intelligent business talk as well. So
yeah. Nice. You talked about intuition. Do you think intuition is something you can learn?
Yeah, or more, I think unlearning how to listen to our brain, because I feel like every single person has intuition, but the connection to it is sometimes distorted by what we think, our conditioning, what potentially we think is the right thing, what our parents have told us is the right thing, our community or the society has told us. And so, yeah, it's more like taking a moment to stop, listen, and then go, oh, what is this? What is this feeling? Where is this coming from? I believe everyone's had this experience where they just feel in their gut what the right thing to do is. And often it takes a lot of people, and I'll speak personally, it took me a long time to realize what my head was saying is not the right way to go about certain decisions, but what my gut was saying was the right. So many times I've thought, okay, I want to get this job, I want to earn this amount of money, I'm going to chase it now. Boom. That's what my head said. So I try and do it. And I often was met with failure. It just didn't work out. But what my heart or my gut was telling me was to follow a different path. And as soon as I kind of listened to it and stopped listening to my head, it often worked out in the end. I've been in some relationships in the past where I thought, yeah, this is not right, but I'm just going to do it anyway for a while. And then obviously it was epic failures because I didn't listen to my gut. So it's almost about just unlearning or not listening to our head, and acknowledging as well that our head can be incredibly powerful to rationalize, to problem solve, to think critically. It's incredibly powerful and valuable, but sometimes we just got to, have a bit of both, not just all of one.
How do we know when it's the right time to listen to our intuition?
I think it just comes with practice of leaning into the gut feeling. I know in my experience, whenever I've had to make a big decision, I'll actually think through everything and what are the options, what are the outcomes, what are the possibilities rationally. And then I'll have all the pieces of information in front of me, and then I go, cool, what feels right? And so it's like an intellectual process of getting all the thoughts out and then connecting with which option actually feels right in this moment. So and I just, within that, I just acknowledge that sometimes our intuition isn't loud. It's very subtle. Sometimes it's things happen in the world that are just guiding us in one way. And if we don't see what's actually happening in our world, we miss it. We don't know what's the message. And so it took me very much a few years, many years actually, decades. Like I probably started realizing I was intuitive maybe in my late teens, and it wasn't until maybe into my late 20s that I actually realized that yeah, I need to listen to more of it.
Yeah. What does success look like to you?
Success,
Yeah.
just reaching my goals. Yeah, success. I feel like I had a different idea of what success was when I was younger. It was really clearly defined. Certain amount of money, certain car, certain house, certain everything. Right now, it's like I just want to grow myself. Um, right now, I'm in the process of um, trying to lose weight. In lockdown, I put on a fair bit of weight,
Yep.
and I'm getting married in a few months.
Oh,
And so
congratulations.
yeah, thank you. And so success for me is looking sharp on my wedding day. You
Nice.
know, success for me at the moment is just clearly articulating uh, my ideas and my message to support other people and supporting their boys.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, it's a lot more short term than I probably would have thought at the moment. Yeah,
Nice. And on the flip side of that, what does failure look like?
failure. It's a good question. I've never thought of that. I think if I'm not if I'm not if I'm not doing what I know helps me in life, I would consider that failing in that moment. Um, if I'm not actually taking action towards the things that I want to do, I would consider that failure.
Mm,
As you've asked me this question, what's present is actually my relationship with failure, and I've never really thought of things as failure. I've just considered them an experiment that taught me a lesson.
yeah.
Um, I've always been a person that has, yeah, just experimented with life and seeing, cool, this might be a cool thing, and let's just try it and see what works out.
Mm,
Um, yeah, and so yeah, what's coming up for me is I don't know if you ever use that word in the way you've asked it, I guess.
yeah. Well, then that just goes to show your mindset and how incredible it is.
Yeah, well, thank you.
What about leadership? What does a true leader look like?
Yeah. Uh, for me, a leader is someone who has a clearly defined purpose, vision, outcome, and creates the spaces for other people just to step into their best selves.
Hmm.
And so, I work with a person who at the moment who's an incredible leader who like just has so much belief and trust in everyone they work with. You can feel it. You can hear it in their words, and everything around that person is just like magnified, and they get the most out of people because of their belief, their unshakable kind of like trust
Yeah.
in people. And so I feel like for me, a leader creates that space and aligns people's energies towards that common goal, that common purpose. Um, and then the other flip side of that is like, how are we leading ourselves?
Hmm.
How are we actually stepping into our full potential or full power, using our strengths?
Yeah.
Um, and so there's like an internal leadership for me, but then there's also the bigger sort of picture leadership that is very important.
Yeah. You mentioned purpose there. How important is it to have a purpose, either personal or in an organization like yourself with Man Cave?
Hugely important. Um, it's I feel very blessed to be connected with my purpose.
Hmm.
Um, and within that, I acknowledge that there's a lot of people that question it a lot. Go, what is it? But I feel like for me, I need to have a purpose behind something
Yep.
in what I do. Otherwise, I just don't put in the effort.
Yeah.
Like I just, whenever I think of something that I've tried to do that I didn't really connect with, I've given it like 10%, 20%.
Mm-hmm.
You know, barely done the bare minimum. And so, like, yeah, I feel like as humans, we need to have a purpose, to really channel all of our energy into something productive. And it can be, it's different for everyone, obviously. Like, you know, someone's purpose might be just to have a beautiful family and create the space for that. Someone else's purpose is to start an organization, you know, make an impact into the world. Someone's purpose might just be just to earn enough money to keep themselves afloat, so to speak. Yep. It's like different for everyone, but I feel like, you know, if I flip it and go, what does purposelessness looks like? It can be quite challenging. You know, I think a lot of people that are struggling in life maybe haven't found their true purpose, you know, or their purpose in that situation.
So I think you've already answered it, but I want to hear it again. What's your purpose?
Yeah, it's right now. My purpose is to. You ask good questions. I feel like I know the answer to this, but it's sometimes I don't articulate it as much as I probably should. But
yeah,
my energetic purpose, like where I channel my energy, is in my relationship. I have a beautiful partner, and I love spending my time with her and doing life with her. And also in my work, my purpose is to contribute. I'm blessed to be in a position where I have the experience and the knowledge of my industry in a way, and I want to share that now because I've kind of used it for myself, doing the workshops and being a facilitator.
yeah.
But now I know it's like a bigger game. I've just kind of leveled up the game. Now it's like teaching other people so then they can create the spaces. And yeah, and so that's kind of, yeah, that's my purpose: contribute, provide value, create spaces. And obviously within that is like me living aligned life.
Yeah.
So I feel, yeah, good question.
That's beautiful, man. Hey, before I ask my last set of questions, is there anything else you want to talk about or to share with everyone?
I think we've covered a lot. I think if anything, I would actually like to hear your purpose.
Mm. Similar to you, I always thought my purpose was something else. Um, and I've in this process of building this podcast, I've realized that it's actually something else. It's only in the last few weeks, probably last month and a bit actually, where I've really started to understand what I think my purpose is. So again, energetically, it's being a dad, it's being a good husband. But for me personally, and internally rather, it's about finding happiness. And I'll use the word happiness because that's a universal sense. I'm getting more in touch with my spirituality, my spiritual side of me, and that's where I want to put a lot of my energy and a lot of my purpose is finding that oneness with the universe. Call it bliss, call it happiness, call it energy. But then externally into the world, I've realized with this podcast, I set out, like I said in the intro, to introduce the world to people that motivate and inspire me, because I know success leaves clues. I've got Jim Rohn on the wall right here.
Saw that.
And he's all about success leaving clues, right? He taught it to Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins goes off and he's impacted millions of people, right? So because I know success leaves clues, I want to gather all of that information and share it with the world. And then later on, I want to reshape it, share it again, and help people find their greatness. That's what it is for me, because I know everyone has genius, everyone has greatness within them. And similar to people not finding their purpose, I think people haven't connected with what their true genius is.
Mm.
And that's what I want to share with people, or being able to help them find their genius and find their greatness.
Love that, bro. And having listened to the previous few episodes, the conversations that I had are helping people.
Mm,
That's awesome. I love that.
thank you. Yeah, it means a lot. So, you would have seen in some of the episodes, I do a final 5 for 5. So, as it works is I've got a list of 5 questions. For question number 1, I need 1 answer. Question number 2, I need 2 answers, and so on and so forth.
Okay.
Ready?
All right.
So, question number 1 is, what is your most favorite quote, if you have one?
Yeah. Nietzsche.
Mm-hmm.
And those who were seen dancing were called crazy by those who could not hear the music.
Yeah, I love that one.
Yeah.
What does it mean to you?
I feel for me, it's like I have a song playing in my heart and in my head.
Yep.
And people may not understand it because they're not hearing the music.
Mm.
And so I'm on like one track and every other person is on their own track. Like far be it for me to judge what other people do because I'm not on their track. I'm not listening to their song.
No.
They're doing one dance and I'm doing another. And for me, it makes me empathetic to other people. It makes me not judge them. Even though some of the things that I see in the world, I'm just like, whoa, but they're on one track and I'm listening to another. So much of acceptance of self and also others.
Yeah, I love that. Question number 2, 2 goals that you've got for the rest of the year, rest of 2021.
Yeah. One,
Lose weight.
lose weight. Yeah. And then the second one is to like really powerfully and intentionally get married and have a beautiful ceremony, because I understand it's a rite of passage into the next stage of my life.
Mm.
And I'm intentionally leaving some things behind and stepping into new things. And so I'm very conscious as it's getting closer. I'm intentionally thinking of how I want to step into that new version of myself.
Yeah, that's really interesting because like there's always and especially in a lot of Eastern culture, a lot of African culture, there's really a rite of passage as a boy becomes a man. But there really isn't that in the Western culture, and even so much, even so when getting married, there really isn't a rite of passage. There's a ceremony. You can go to a church if that's your thing. You can go and do it however you want to do it, or you can go to the court and just get married there. There's no real rite of passage or a changing of this is who I was before marriage, this is who I was after marriage. So, in saying that, when after you get married, I want you back on the show, and I want to talk about this with you because it's really, really interesting. This whole rite of passage thing and almost burning bridges of past to really taking on a new future is something that's really interesting for me at the moment. So I'd be keen to talk after the wedding.
Let's do it.
Sweet.
I love everything rite of passage, and I feel like it's, in traditional cultures all around the world, they used to do it all the time.
Yeah.
And in current culture, there's very little clearly defined rite of passage.
Absolutely.
And for me, when I look at it, I'm like, that's why people are in their senior years or adult years and they're still children mentally. They're just acting like childs. I look at some of the leaders around the world and they're like children, So yeah, huge. I'll be glad to get nerdy with you on that conversation, man.
Awesome. Question number 3, 3 tools or techniques that is important for young people to learn.
Yeah. One, checking in.
Yeah.
Like, can you speak how you are and speak your heart and your mind?
Mm-hmm.
2, channeling energy that's in our body. Like, what are the things that you actually love to do? It might be physical, it might be mental, it might be creative. Getting present onto what it is that we love to do to channel our energy. And 3rd, like, what do you want to learn? We're like, if I look at life and through like a video game lens, we're just trying to get to the next level. And when we learn new things, we can get to that next level. So like 3 is like, yeah, what do you want to learn? What do you want to experiment with? What do you want to practice? Collect more things that can help you in life.
Yeah. Someone really needs to, and when I say someone, actually, I'll tell you after we hit record, stop, because
Okay.
I don't want someone to steal this idea.
All right.
Okay. Question number 4, 4 things that you're grateful for.
Yeah. My partner, she's beautiful, just the most incredible human I've met.
Mm-hmm.
My family, they've created a beautiful environment for me growing up to be able to, for me to be the person that I am. I'm very grateful for the opportunities that I have in my life, for this. Um, that's 4. I think that's
No, that was 3.
that was 3. Oh. I'm very grateful for my experiences that I had that have taught me lessons.
Yeah. You wouldn't be who you are without those. And question number 5, 5 people that inspire you.
5 people that inspired me. I've been getting into. So I read recently, Green Lights by. Oh my goodness, I've forgotten his name now. What's the actor? Matthew McConaughey.
Mm-hmm.
So I finished reading that book, and he inspired me because he has some beautiful ways of looking at the world, which are very much in line with the whole intuition sort of conversation we were having before. I'm very much inspired by my dad. My dad works tirelessly. He sacrifices so much for his family.
Yep.
And the level of sacrifice that he has had to make over his life is truly inspiring. And I think I never really realized that until the last few years. There's that. I'm inspired by a student. This is present with me now. So the other day I was in a workshop, and someone who wasn't in the workshop the whole day, they're actually in a different workshop, similar to the man cave, but actually for females, for girls. They revealed in that workshop that they are transitioning to be a boy.
Wow.
And they requested to join the man cave workshop at the end of the day. And I'm inspired by that person's courage to just be like, yeah, this is me, and I'm going to step into it. And so we brought them in, we kind of facilitated a conversation around that. But what I was left with was like, that takes huge courage.
Yeah.
So that person has been inspiring me the last few days. Yeah, just like a huge moment in that person's life where they were left smiling, and like, I've never met that person before, but they looked satisfied. They looked on cloud 9 for them. Yeah. I've got lots of mentors, both direct and indirect, that inspire me. The organization Man Cave, there's our CEO is just a beast, Hunter Johnson. He's just like so intelligent, so conscientious, but just the capacity that he has is huge. And I constantly am attempting to learn from him. So he's very inspiring as well.
I need one more.
One
more.
Oh man, you got me. If I look at my sister, She's very inspiring. She's got 3 kids,
Yeah.
and just her ability to beautifully raise them. I'm becoming present to now as I'm stepping into marriage soon, and then obviously what comes next.
Yeah.
So she is in my head, and just like how amazing and intentional she is about how she raises her children.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, she's got 3 kids. They're all under the age of 12, and they're amazing kids because of her intention and habits, and yeah, just her beautiful love that she has for them.
Nice. Thank you for that. My final question is, who is David Verdugo in essence?
I'm just this cheeky, playful, nerdy, loving person. I love smiling, singing, playing music, just playing in life in general. But I love learning and knowledge and wisdom, and I see the best in people. I'd like to think I see the best in people, and I love people. Yeah, that's my essence.
Nice. Tell everyone where they can connect with you and Man Cave as well.
Yeah, Man Cave, our website, themancave.life. And I'm not big on social media, but you're welcome to get in touch with me. It's David __ VE on Instagram, and I'm not on Facebook anymore. I kind of disconnected from that for a little while, just to kind of maintain my sanity in a way. Yeah, would open welcome, should I say, anyone getting in touch to find out more about anything. So yeah, thank you so much for having me on, Paresh. I really appreciate this
Thank you.
opportunity, and I've loved having this conversation with you, man. It's been awesome.
Yeah, like your smile is infectious. Like I said, it melts hearts. You're a ball of light, so I appreciate and I love you. Yeah, always a pleasure to connect with and to have conversations with. I still remember that one breakfast we got to have in Melbourne by ourselves was still, I remember that. And that one video that we shot, which we never released.
The sound was so bad on that. The wind.
Yeah. So maybe next time I'm over there or you're over here, let's connect and let's do something. But look, man, I appreciate your energy. I appreciate your time. You're doing amazing work. So I want to thank you on behalf of all young people out there, and just keep it up.
Thanks, bro. I appreciate you. I'm sending you my love.
Lots of love, man.
Thanks, bro.